Hello, Williams class. Welcome to your maths lesson for today. The arithmetic is the following. 3 times 7. 4,563 plus 5,436. What is today's date as a Roman numeral? 7 twelfths plus 21 twelfths. 5 times 7. 32 divided by 4. What is 15 millimeters in centimeters? What is 1,200 meters in kilometers? What is 2:15 p.m. on a 24-hour clock? And 36 divided by 12. Here are your answers. 3 times 7 equals 21. 4,563 plus 5,436 equals 9,999. What is today's date as a Roman numeral? XXVI dot II dot MMXXI. 7 twelfths plus 21 twelfths equals 28 over twelfths, which is equal to 2 wholes and 4 twelfths. 5 times 7 equals 35. 32 divided by 4 equals 8. What is 15 millimeters in centimeters? 1.5 centimeters. What is 1,200 meters in kilometers? 1.2 kilometers. What is 2:15 p.m. on a 24-hour clock? 14:15. 36 divided by 12 equals 3. Now, our learning objective for our maths lesson today is, can I use fractions to calculate quantities? So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to apply your knowledge of division to finding fractions of amounts. Your starter activity. Which one is different? Off you go. Now, here is how I would solve it. I would first find the answers to these questions. So if I start with the first one, half of 48. Half of 48 is 24. 1/8 of 192 is equal to 192 divided by 8, 24. Next one, 1/5 of 115 is 115 divided by 5, which equals 23. 3/4 of 32. Now, the way to work this out is by doing 32 divided by 4, which equals 8, and then 8 times 3. We divide by the denominator, multiply by the numerator. So 8 times 3 is 24. Next one, 1/10 of 240, that's 240 divided by 10, which is 24. And the last one, 2/3 of 36. So we do 36 divided by 3, which equals 12. And then you multiply by the numerator, so 12 times 2, which equals 24. So which one is different? It would be this one here. It would be 1/5 of 115, because that is the only question that has the answer 23. The other ones all equal 24. Let's have a go at answering these questions. If 1/5 is worth 4, what is 1 whole worth? So this is telling us one part out of these 5 parts that we have has 4 in here. So what would this whole entire bar be worth? The way to solve this is by drawing into the other parts what we can see in one part, because it should be split equally. So in one part we have 4, so I'm going to draw 4 in the rest of those bars, just like this. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And now to figure out what is 1 whole worth, you just have to count the counters that you have drawn and the counters at the beginning. So let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So that means that 1 whole worth, or 1 whole is worth 20. So there are how many counters in one part? We have 4 counters in one part, because one part means 1 out of 5, which is here. So 1/5 is how many counters? 1/5 means one part out of these 5 parts. How many counters do we have? 4. Over here, 3/5 of those counters. So that means 1, 2, and 3 of these. How much is in 3 parts? You would have 12, because look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you have 12 counters there. What about in 2/5 of those parts? So 2/5 means you're looking at 2 out of those 5 parts. That's this part and this part. And in those 2, you have 8 counters. What about 4/5 of the counters? For 4/5 of those parts, you're looking at 4 out of those 5 parts. And in 4 out of those 5 parts, you have how many counters? Count in 4s with me. 4, 8, 12, 16. So you have 16 counters. 5/5 or 1 whole equals, so that's 5 parts out of those 5 parts. How many counters do we have? That's just the total. It would be 20. So that's how you solve that. You've already, without knowing it maybe, you've already solved, you've already calculated fractions based on, you've already calculated quantities based on fractions or using fractions. So well done. Next one, there are 7 counters in one part. How many parts do we have all together? We have 4 parts all together, okay? And in one of those parts, we have 7. So in each part, there are 7 counters. Now, 1/4 is how many counters? 1/4 means 1 part out of those 4 parts. How many counters do we have? 7. What about 2/4? How many counters do we have in 2 out of 4 of those counters? 14. What about 3/4? How many counters do we have in 3 of these parts? 21. Because you have 7 here, 7 here, 7 here, and 7 here. Okay, so to figure out 3 out of 4, you just add 7 3 times, also known as 7 times 3. And then lastly, 4 out of 4 of those counters, or 1 whole counter, equals how many counters? 28, because you just add 7 4 times. Very well done for keeping up so far. Next question. 1/5 of a bag of potatoes is 3 potatoes. Use a bar model and counters to work out how many potatoes are in the whole bag. So if in one part there are 3 potatoes, we need to continue to add to the remaining parts. And because they should be split equally, each part should have 3 potatoes. So let's draw them now. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. So how many potatoes do we have all together? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So we have 15 potatoes all together. Now we have this table that we have to complete. So it says here that the whole is 24. 1/6 of 24 is how much? So to work that out, you do 24 divided by 6. How many 6s go into 24? 4. Fantastic. Now to work out how many, or what is 5/6 of 24, you do 24 divided by 6, which is 4, multiplied by 5, which is 20. So this is another way of solving or using fractions to work out quantities, to work out amounts. Quantity is another word for amount. Next part, I will leave you to do this, to complete the table, and we'll see if you get the same answers as me. Off you go. Right, here are the answers that I got. The whole is 90. 1/3 of 90 equals 30. 2/3 of 90 equals 60. Next one, the whole is 150. 1/5 of 150 equals 30. 3/5 of 150 equals 90. Now, the way I solved it was by working with the middle table first. So here it just said 1/3 of what equals 30. Now, the way to work this out is quite simple. If you look at the first question here, 1/6 of 24, how did we work that out? We did 24 divided by 6. So if you divide this number by this number, do the opposite to fill in that gap. So what's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So instead of dividing 30 by 3, you times 30 and 3 together to get your answer, which is 90. And now that we know this answer, we know that that is also the whole, and that is the number we put in here. So we're able to then find this answer here. And the same goes for the question below that. Right, time for your tasks. You have A, B, C, and D to get on with. I will just try and show you that in the full screen. There you go. Have a go at answering these questions. It's not just A, B, C, and D, by the way. I'm so sorry. It's also E, F, G, and H. Have a go at answering those. And when you then unpause the video, once you've finished, you will see the answers that I have. And we'll see if we match. Here are my answers. So part A, a quarter of 20 equals 5. Part B, a fifth of 20 equals 4. Part C, a tenth of 20 equals 2. Part D, a quarter of 40 equals 10. Part E, 1/8 of 40 equals 5. Part F, 1/8 of 80 equals 10. Part G, a third of 36 equals 12. And part H, a sixth of 36 equals 6. Task number 2. Philip has a chocolate bar with 5 equal pieces. The chocolate bar weighs 60 grams. What is the mass of one piece? And then part B, Philip eats 3/5 of the bar of chocolate. How many grams does Philip eat? Have a go at answering those for me. So the way to work out the first part of the question, which is what is the mass of one piece, you do 60 divided by 5 because the chocolate bar is split into 5 separate pieces and you want to work out how much one of those pieces weighs. So you do 60 divided by 5. So using your 5 times table knowledge there, you should get the answer of 12. So 12 grams is the mass of one piece. Do not forget your unit of measurement. Do not forget your grams. Part B, Philip eats 3/5 of the bar of chocolate. How many grams does Philip eat? So that means that Philip eats this bar of chocolate, or not bar, but the piece of chocolate, this piece of chocolate, and also this piece of chocolate. So you add 12 3 times. So you do 12 plus 12 plus 12, otherwise known as 12 times 3. And that then equals 36. Again, not forgetting your grams there. Now, your second number sentences exercise. You have to complete the number sentences. You have A, B, C, and D. Off you go. And here are your answers. Part A, a quarter of 24 equals 6. 3/4 of 24 equals 18. Part B, a seventh of 35 equals 5. 3/7 of 35 equals 15. And 5/7 of 35 equals 25. C, an eighth of 32 equals 4. 5/8 of 32 equals 20. Part D, 5/8 of 64 equals 40. 7/8 of 64 equals 56. And 10/8 of 64 equals 80. Now, the last one's a bit of a funny one because you've got an answer that's bigger than the number you started with, but that's because you have an improper fraction. And remember, an improper fraction is when the numerator is bigger than the denominator. And your third and final task, you have to match the calculations to the answers. Let's do that one first. And then once you've done that, you're going to write each calculation in the correct circle. So whatever fraction, whatever number you get after solving these, you put into this box. If the answer is 6, then you put the sum into this circle. If you get an answer of 8, then you put that sum in this circle and write one more calculation in each circle. Off you go. And here are the answers. So a half of 16 equals 8. So that would go in the 8th circle. A quarter of 24 equals 6. That would go in the 6th circle. 2/3 of 9 equals 6. So that goes in the 6th circle. 3/2 of 4 equals 6. So that also goes into the 6th circle. And lastly, 1/6 of 48 equals 8. So that goes into the 8th circle. Now you have to write one more calculation in each circle. I will leave that for you to do. Put it onto Tapestry and I'll have a look at your calculations. And that is all for our maths lesson today, boys and girls. Hope you enjoyed
using fractions to calculate quantities. I will see you very, very soon. Goodbye.